Teamwork makes the dream work. If you're a team leader, you understand the importance of building cohesive, inspired teams where you lead effectively and everyone in your team member knows where they are going and knows how to get there and they are self-motivated. And sometimes as a team leader, we run into issues where how come there are certain team members who aren't quite self-motivated? How come there are some team members who don't quite respect your leadership? So in this video, what I want to share with you are 5 key principles on how you can gain the respect of your team members as a team leader. And these principles I'm going to share with you as the ABCs. So we're going to go through down the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E. All right, let's go. Letter A stands for appreciate who they are. As a team leader, understand that every member of your team are unique individuals. They come with different levels of experience. They come with a different background. They come with different expertise and skill sets that they've gained in their past. And so as a team leader, it would be important for you to understand who are they? What keeps them awake at night? What motivates them? What is important to them? And are there any particular areas where they have confidence? And are there any particular areas where they are aware of their skill sets and they have an understanding of what they bring to the table? So understand who they are. On one hand, who they say they are, and on the other hand, who is it that they exude? And they may not be aware of who they come across as and how they exude themselves, but it would be important for you to understand who are they and show that appreciation. Appreciation for who they are is what every individual seeks. Every member of your team, they joined a team to be part of something. They joined a team to be part of something inspiring and to make a meaningful contribution. And they want to make it at their fullest potentials. And they want to make it authentically from who they are. So when you come at it and you appreciate who they are, it comes from a level of understanding them and understanding their perspectives as well. And so the first step as being respected as a leader is to appreciate who they are as individuals. So we just finished talking about letter A, appreciate them for who they are, which means that you respect them enough to find out what is important to them. So let's talk about letter B. Letter B is a balance of praise and reprimand. B stands for balance. So what do I mean by that? When it comes to being a team leader, it is important to understand that respect equals praise plus reprimand. Is not one without the other. Is not praise without reprimand, and is definitely not reprimand without praise. Because oftentimes when we are having team members and we are leading the teams towards visions and towards goals, we think about giving feedback. But at the same time, we think about, well, I need to have something good to say. I need to praise them. And maybe they respect me more when I praise them. And there's this fear at the back of our head that, well, if I need to reprimand, if I do need to take corrective action or help them make corrective action, that they don't respect that as much. Well, respect is the balance of both. It is the equal balance of praise and respect. Because if you give only praise, then your team members, especially those A players, they want to improve. They want to know if their contributions are being valued. They want to know, how can I make a more meaningful contribution? They want to know what it is that I can improve on. These are the A players in your team. So if all you give is praise, there's a lack of feedback, and then they come at it, and at the back of their mind, they're wondering, okay, so if there's all praise and there's all praise, that means that I'm going to expect a promotion soon. And if you're giving praise for the sake of praise and building respect, then it's not a really fair exchange because they didn't get the feedback that they needed in order to grow. Like, think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you were up for promotion and you really wanted to be promoted, and you went to had this conversation with your manager, and somehow they didn't give you the promotion? But it was puzzling to you because for the longest time, all you received was good things, positive reviews, praise without reprimand. And now what happens is that when it's time for promotion and they didn't make promises, they didn't make up on the promises of promotion, it's confusing. And it also leads to a mistrust of leadership. So that's what happens when you have praise without reprimand. Now let's look at the opposite, reprimand without praise. Reprimand without praise is now, yes, you're helping them make corrective action and you're giving them feedback on areas of improvement. But if all it is areas of improvement, then as well, that also, too much of that can also lead to mistrust and distrust of the team leader as well. Because at the back of their mind, they're wondering, well, how is it that I'm not doing anything right? And they want to trust their leadership. They trust their own skill sets bringing into it. And they trust the fact that they've had successes in the past. Well, how is it that I'm joining this team and all I'm receiving is corrective action and reprimand? Right? So when you have a balance of both praise and reprimand, this is what creates fair exchange. It's fair exchange, which means it's a win-win situation. It's a win for you because now you can help them make corrective action. You can help them become productive members of your team as well, and you can exude your leadership. It's a win for them as well because they understand specifically areas in which they can improve, and at the same time, they can identify things that they've done well. So praise plus reprimand is what equals respect, and it also creates a fair exchange. So we have letter A, which is appreciate them for who they are. Letter B, which is a balance of praise and reprimand. And now letter C. Letter C stands for communicate in their values. Every member you have on your team, they come with a very unique set of values. A very unique set of values. And no two people will have the same set of values. And by the way, no member of your team will have the same set of values as you do. So as a team leader, one of your most important abilities is to understand what are their values and what is the thing that is most important to them. So when they join your team, when you want to build team members that are intrinsically motivated, one of the things that it motivates an individual is understanding precisely how being a part of this team and participating in these projects and how fulfilling all my responsibilities, when they can understand how these activities and their role is going to help them fulfill what is most important to them in their highest values. So when you are leading and you communicate in their values, this is where they understand and they can appreciate how this role is going to serve them. They can appreciate how this role is going to give them confidence. And more importantly, they can appreciate how they are making a meaningful contribution the way that they define it. So communication in their values is one of the most important skill sets if you are a team leader, because it also leads to diplomatic relations. It also helps you to understand, how do I manage and navigate these differences in individuals in a very prudent manner? Because every team member is going to come from different cultural background. They're going to have differences in opinions. They're going to have different ways of doing things, different ways of solving problems. And how do you navigate through all these differences? So this is where communication through their values and communicating in their values is going to be effective for you at creating that unification. Now, if you're listening to this and you realize that this is the missing piece, communicating in values, understanding what's important to them, and balancing praise and reprimand, if you're nodding your head and you're realizing this is important to you, then I invite you to really work on these parts. I'm going to share with you 2 more principles on gaining the respect on your team members, but I want to pause you and give you an opportunity to work with me. Every single week, I provide training for team leaders on how to lead their teams effectively, how to communicate effectively as well, and how to navigate relationships diplomatically, build meaningful relationships with you and your team members. And if you are serious about developing that interpersonal and intrapersonal skill set for yourself, then below this video in the description is a link for you to apply, to book a call, to speak to either myself or a member of my team. And this is where we're going to share with you how we can help you specifically. So the link is below. I look forward to working with you on the inside. So far, we've discussed the ABCs. A was to appreciate them for who they are. B was to balance praise and reprimand. C was to communicate in their values, which leads to letter D. And D is to demonstrate transparency. So transparency, you hear that a lot in the corporate world in terms of being transparent with each other. So let's talk about that a little bit. When it comes to transparency, transparency does come with it a little bit of vulnerability. And when I say vulnerability, I'm not talking about airing your dirty laundry. I'm not talking about bringing too much information on the personal front. I simply mean transparently sharing with your team members what's going on with you as a team leader so that they don't have to guess. Let me illustrate this with an example. Let's say you had a difficult morning, right? With the kids, with your significant other, a little bit of a difficult morning, which is typical. Sometimes we have discussions and have arguments with our family members, but somehow you show up to work in that morning in a huff and a little bit off. Now, and you try your best to be present, you try your best to be strong and to forget about what happened in the morning. But what's going to happen is that when you show up for your meetings and when you show up in front of your team members, they're going to notice that something is a little bit off with you. They're going to notice that there's something different this morning, or maybe you don't even realize this, but perhaps you are a little bit short with your team members. Perhaps you're on a tight fuse. Perhaps there is a little bit of impatience more than usual, and they detect these things. Humans, individuals have sensory acuity. They can pick up on these things. Their energies, they can pick up on it. They are body language, they can pick up on it. And if they don't know what happened, 9 times out of 10, they're going to assume that it was their fault. 9 times out of 10, they're going to assume that it is something they did wrong. And they're going to assume that there's going to be an outburst or some sort of reprimand coming down. And they're going to be afraid of retribution. And so all it takes is just transparency to be able to prevent any of these from happening. All it takes is a little bit of transparency. And transparency simply could look like showing up in the morning and saying, hey, by the way, I'm excited to start this day with you, but this morning I had a little kerfuffle with the kids. So if I'm a little bit off, if I'm a little bit short with you, that's just what happened. So please bear with me. Something like that. As simple as that can be transparency. It's just simply as a leader sharing with your team what's going on with you so they don't have to guess. And when they don't have to guess, they don't make assumptions because we are individuals and we try to make sense out of situations. We try to put pieces together. When there are gaps in our knowledge, we try to fill them in so that we can understand how to behave and how to move forward and how to navigate through that. So transparency, just a little bit of transparency goes a long way. Now, I understand there's a lot of resistance when it comes to providing transparency in the workplace, because one of the things we hear really often is keep your work life separate from your personal life. We hear that a lot. But the problem with that is if you keep your personal life completely separate from your professional life, there are some individuals who do value that human connection, and they might feel that is missing. And on the other hand, there are some times where just some explanation of what's going on in your personal life, I don't mean airing out your dirty laundry, but just a little bit of transparency can go a long ways in helping your team members understand you in the moment. So this is letter D, is to demonstrate transparency. So let's summarize what we've covered so far. A is to appreciate them for who they are. B was the balance between praise and reprimand. C was to communicate in their values. D was to demonstrate transparency, which leads us to the last principle, letter E, which stands for exude, equity and equality where important. Equity and equality are often are often used together. They're often used interchangeably in society. However, I make a key distinction between both. Let's talk about this a little bit. Equality means treating people the same way. For example, giving them the same access to resources. If somebody uses this type of technology, you give people the same type of technology. If people have certain amount of hours on vacation, you treat everyone the same and you give them the same access to things, you treat them the exact same way, and that is equality. Equity is a little bit important, is a little bit different. Equity comes from the mindset of, I understand that each individual is different. I understand that each individual has their differences in values, their differences in skill sets and capacities. And because I see them and I want to treat them all equally, I want them to succeed in ways they've defined it, and they might define success differently. So equity means I'm going to help set them up for success however they define it, which means that I see them eye to eye. Each individual, I see them eye to eye. And I'm going to treat them as individuals, but I'm going to treat them with utmost respect. But in so doing, each individual might have a different definition of success and might have a different understanding of what their goals and their life purpose is. So in accordance to that, I'm going to exude equity. So there's a little bit of a difference. And this is where, as a team leader, it's important to have discrepancy to know when and where to exude equity and equality where appropriate. Right? Equity, in order to have true equity, this is where it's important for you to understand true equity is produced starting from you having your own intrapersonal skill sets. Your intrapersonal skills are the skills that you use to manage yourself and how you see yourself in relation to other people. And that self-awareness and that self-esteem and that self-confidence as a leader and that identity as a leader is what helps produce equity between relationships. Equality is simply just treating everyone as equals and treating everyone the same way. But equity requires a little bit more self-governance. It requires a little bit more maturity and intrapersonal skill set. So those are the 5 keys when it comes to how do we gain our respect from our team members as a team leader. And if you are listening to this and you're thinking, I do want to step up in my leadership, I really do value my team members, and I do want to make a meaningful contribution in my industry through my team members. And if you're thinking about this and you're wondering, well, if I have team members and I have a team that is reporting directly to me, how do I make sure that they are inspired? How do I inspire each of my team members? Well, I've created some content that talks exactly about that, how to inspire your team members. And that video is coming right up next. I'll see you there.